Welcome back, friends. Lost Scarf here, and it's time for the end of the year roundup for Kirby's Dreamcast 2024. This was going to be Super Star Stacker, but I just couldn't get it done in time. There's still more work to be done because Super Star Stacker, there's a lot of work to be done. It'll be done in January, guaranteed. I kept pushing it back, and it's going to get pushed back one more month, but it will be done. If you're new here, this podcast was the only Kirby podcast, but now there's 3 Kirby podcasts. Guess the other 2 if you know what they are. And the goal of this podcast is to give you all the information. Go over all of the anime, all of the manga, all of the light novels, all of the games, everything. That is the idea. Start out with just the anime, and I want to talk about the manga. I want to talk about the light novels. I want to talk about everything. I want to talk about Let's Find Kirby. Everything will be in this podcast because it will end when I die or when Kirby dies. One or the other. Hopefully never that second one. Here's the thing. I'm going to age myself here. Scarf was 5 years old when Kirby was born. He's been my favorite character almost my entire life. And that's why I want this podcast to have all information, and it's going to be through my lens, of course. So I give you the information, but then there's like what I think of it, of course. That way there's a little bit of a flavor of me in here for the future. Because the idea is this is going to be everything. Everything's going to be in here. Not going to be as easy to navigate as a wiki, but it's all going to be in here. So the title tells you it's a year-end roundup, but also an idea I want to go over, and that is, what if Kirby was a movie? What would it be? Because I just saw Sonic 3. I'm like, how would a Kirby movie go? But before we get there, let's go ahead and go over what we always do every month. So, release birth years and merch. So first, let's talk about the release birth year. For releases, Kirby Block Ball came out in Japan. In the US, it was Nightmare in Dreamland and Squeak Squad for Kirby games in December. Now for merch, big news if you're an Nendoroid fan, Ice and Beam Kirby Nendoroids are getting re-released next year. So that's hype as heck. Also, if you can get things from Japan, there's more Kirby bags, more clothes, more pens, more backpacks, more stuff from the Kirby Cafe. There's a lipstick line for Horoscope Kirby. Oh my god, every single horoscope. That is kind of cute. And also, another light novel. On the 11th of December came out Kirby Nights in the Snowy Mountains are full of unexpected incidents. So that's pretty cool there. They make about 3 light novels a year, so I need to do about 4 light novel episodes a year so that we can slowly catch up and get to current, and then eventually slow that down. So here's my plans for next year, and they are, we're going to get Super Star Stacker in January, then I'm going to get to work on Kirby 64, so expect that in the summer, and around the end of the year will be Kirby Tilt and Tumble. We will only get a 4th gaming episode next year if I somehow get through those pretty quickly, but 64 should be the one that takes the most work. As far as the anime goes, Kirby Right Back at You will probably do about 4 or 5 episodes next year, more if there's time. And the Kirby light novels will be about 3 or 4 episodes. I said I want to try to do 4, we'll see if that happens. And then there's an ambitious one I want to do, and that is a Kirby light novel radio play for Book 1. So I'm going to rewrite Kirby Book 1 into a script and get a bunch of people from the Kirby community to voice the Kirby characters. I will be the narrator so that I can edit myself, because that's the easiest thing that can be done, because that's going to be the most words spoken. I'll narrate the whole book. Someone's going to be Kirby, someone's going to be Meta Knight, someone's going to be King Dedede, someone's going to be Waddle Dee, and someone's going to be all the minor characters. And there's the antagonist. So, my plan is auditions in January, February. Because the book, either we do Kirby's birthday in April, or we do Kirby's first book, which was in like July or August, I forget. We'll do one of those anniversaries for the release of this episode, so I'll have time to edit and everything. I'll do auditions. The choice of Kirby is going to be interesting. What I want to do as far as the main cast goes is I probably want to rotate those guys, so it's not the same person voicing those 4 characters every time, because I want to do book 2 and 3 and so on and so forth eventually, because I think it's a fun idea to have the community involved in there. Unless we have someone who's just perfect as Kirby, then there's no changes. Same thing for Meta Knight, King Dedede, or Waddle Dee, but I do like the idea of rotating that spot. Everyone who auditions, if you at least have some good mic quality, I think I'm going to give at least the extra voices. So there's a bunch of extra voices in there, and then there's like Waki, then there's Wheelie. There's a lot of characters. There's about like a dozen to 20 characters or voices in the first book. So even if people don't get the main voices they want, like say Kirby, they can still be like a minor character. So I think I'm going to want people to audition to whatever voices they want, and then things that they're willing to do if they don't get the main voices. And I hope no one feels bad or is unhappy if they don't get the main role. Because when I do the episodes the first time, of course it's me voicing everything, and my voices are okay. But for this one, I want to get whoever is the best voice at the time for these characters who's in the Kirby community. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be ambitious. Maybe it'll crash and burn. We'll find out. So we've been at this for about 6 years, and I know one main complaint, of course, is that, well, we only do one episode a month. I wish we could do more often, but Scarf has a day job. Scarf is an old man. If you could guess my age from what I said earlier, you'll know how old I am. So I have a job, and it's a big job. I do a very big civic duty. I actually serve millions of people a day, and it's a very important job, and it's a very stressful job. I do this to de-stress. I love Kirby so much. Kirby is my comfort animal, for sure. Then there's social life and hobbies and things like that, things to keep me sane on top of this. But I love doing this, and so I try to do at least one a month. If I do more, I would love to, because I'm sure people would like more episodes. Now, as far as the anime episodes on the YouTube side, those are very slow going because of the editing that gets done with those. That's a lot more work. And so those kind of get worked on whenever I get the one episode done for the month, and then I can work on that. Or I'm working on shorts, or I'm working on an extra episode if I can do bonus episodes. And of course, whenever new Kirby stuff gets announced, we will do bonus episodes. Like if a trailer for a new Kirby game comes out, for sure we're going to do bonus episodes for that. Guaranteed. And reviews and things like that. So just letting you know about that. Like, we've been at this for 6 years, and I intend to do this for 20, 30 years. I'm not going to stop. I love Kirby. I'm never going to stop loving Kirby. I'm not going to stop wanting to make this podcast over Kirby, because I want to talk about everything Kirby. And eventually, I am studying Japanese. I will know all the Japanese stuff, so I can talk about the Japanese side of Kirby as well. But I think that's everything as far as the channel going forward as to what happens next year. So now let's talk about the idea of this episode. That is, what if Kirby got a movie? Because I just saw Sonic 3, and I was thinking, how would it be handled? And I think the first thing to talk about is what kind of character Kirby is in the different medias, and also what kind of story would be made for the different audiences. I think if you go by examples here, movies for the most part are made for the Western audience. Sonic comes from a Japanese company, but Sonic 1, 2, and 3, 100% are made for Western audiences, but they include things to have the other audiences in there, especially Sonic 3. Sonic 3 has stuff take place in Japan, you see that in the trailer, so that Japan gets included. The Mario movie was very much a Western thing for sure. They're in New York, all stuff's happening there. Maybe there'll be stuff that incorporates Japan in the future, or just feels more of the Japanese influence to it. But very much it was definitely a Western influence movie there. If you didn't know, there is a Mario anime movie from way back in the day, which feels more like, well, an anime. Feels more like Japanese influence, because of course it was. So the question is, would Kirby be more like a Japanese style media, or would it be a Western media? And I think with the way Nintendo's handling things right now, it'd probably be Western media, but how would that be handled? Because we're getting a Legend of Zelda movie. What worries me, though, is the Legend of Zelda movie is from the guy behind Kraven the Hunter, so that is a very bad sign right there. Hopefully they bring their A game for this. Also, Kirby's not going to happen anytime soon. I think we're getting Mario, we're getting Zelda, we'll probably get Samus. I would love to see action horror with Samus. And then eventually we get Kirby someday. I don't know when. Probably around 40th anniversary. Maybe, I hope. But let's say it was made for Eastern audiences, for Japan. I think they would do something more like comedy or more young adventure. So I'm thinking something more like, well, not saying the Western wouldn't do young adventure either, but I'm thinking something more like maybe Moretsu Hour. That's the one with the Fang Kirby anime. That's the one where Kirby's super wacky and very hilarious. I think they would do maybe a vignette style of Kirby. That would be fun. I think you would get a game version of Kirby in a Western story more than an Eastern one, I think. That's what I believe anyway. I think they would go more for the laughs and the comedy than they would go for maybe some epic adventure tale. I think the West is the one that's going to try to do that, but with an origin story of some kind. As far as mangas go, that would be an influence for maybe Western? I don't know, like Manga Mania, Poo 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 Hero, Moretsu Hour, the newest one, I forget what it's called right now. The newest manga, which follows the games very closely, is pretty fun. There's about 55 Kirby mangas, by the way, if you didn't know that. There's a lot of Kirby mangas, a lot of Yonkomas. Some are based on the games, are very fun. But yeah, I think Moretsu Hour would be which is from Korokora. I think that's the one with Fang Kirby. That's the one that the East would have, where a bunch of comedy hijinks and things like that be vignette. I've already said that, but I think that's what it would be, just reiterating. For the West, I think they follow a game. I think a couple manga do this, where they do Kirby's Dream Land as the introduction to Kirby, and then they do other adventures. I think that's possible. They might do that, just to introduce all the characters. That's like a prologue, and then they go into some main story. Like, I could see them doing Dreamland, and then it does Adventure next, because Dreamland is a good introduction to Kirby. Arguably, you could do stories where Kirby doesn't need to be introduced. Kirby's just such a kind of blank canvas, very friendly fellow that you could just do the story right from the start, Act like people know who Kirby is, and if they don't, they'll get who he is very quickly. Because what is Kirby? Kirby is a jelly fellow. He honestly is. Like, Kirby is a very friendly person, someone who enjoys life, someone who's just enjoying their day. Stuff happens, and then they get to it. This is the thing about, like, story writing. There's 3 kinds of characters. You've got reactive characters, active characters, and flat characters. Arguably, you could say Kirby is kind of reactive at first, then he becomes active. Or you could say Kirby might be a flat character as well, because Kirby never necessarily develops. So an example of flat character would say, like, maybe Goku in Dragon Ball. He's flat because you already know who he is, because he's been around for so long, and his character arc ended in Dragon Ball. In Z, he's a flat character. In Dragon Ball, he's an active character. And in Z, you already know who he is, and it's more his cast around him that does things and have their character arcs, and they bounce off him to be the stability for the story. In a way, Kirby is that, where Kirby's the same guy every story, but he's very fun, and he's someone we all enjoy. But he's also arguably very active at first. At the start of many games, Kirby's just enjoying his day, enjoying his life, something crazy happens, and then Kirby actively goes to solve the problem. He goes out there and solves it, so Kirby goes from reactive to active. Another example of reactive character would be like, say, Gohan. Gohan, especially in the Buu arc, he's just living life, and then stuff happens to him, then he has to deal with it. His whole life is that, really. Bad guys happen, Gohan deals with it. Bad guys happen, Gohan deals with it. Doesn't really win these fights, but he's dealing with them. Active would be Vegeta, if we gotta use Dragon Ball examples. Another example, I think, is One Punch Man. Saitama from One Punch Man is 1000% a flat character. He's just there, he does things, but it's about the characters around him and how they bounce off him. Mickey Mouse is also another example of a flat character. Mickey Mouse is a very jovial person, and it's about the cast around him. So, what kind of character do you want Kirby to be? Do you want Kirby to be someone where the ensemble cast is strong? Arguably, that is a good idea if you want to do something like, say, Return to Dreamland. But I am getting ahead of myself, that would be a later one. One more thing to analyze, of course, is Kirby Right Back Atcha. I think the reason why people don't like Tiff is because, of course, she's such a firebrand, and she's very much doing things for Kirby. So in Right Back Atcha, Kirby 100% is a reactive character, because he's Baby. And Tiff is the active character to get things done. She's the one who tells Kirby what to do, because Kirby is just reacting because he's Baby. Here's the thing, and we'll totally do a Right Back Atcha analysis when we finish the series in a couple years. Kirby is Baby because of Sakurai. Sakurai told them Kirby cannot speak, and Kirby cannot have human characters in the story. So Tiff's kind of a human character anyway. But Kirby doesn't speak, that's why they made him Baby. And because he's Baby, Kirby's reactive, because he can't be active, because he's Baby. So they had Tiff be the active character. And because of that, people don't like her so much, but I think Tiff is easily the second best character in the anime, unless you of course put Meta Knight above her, because everyone loves Meta Knight. You can't have this story without Tiff, because Kirby is Baby. Now if Kirby was older, could talk, then it'd be something else, but Sakurai said he couldn't talk. That's why Kirby is where he is. Obviously, if we do a Kirby movie, unless they're doing Right Back At You as a movie, which I don't think it would go well, I think you have to do Kirby can freaking talk. I think that's what you do. And I think Poo 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 Hero is a good characterization of Kirby for sure. The 4 Coma Kirbys are also good characterizations. I think Maretsu's too crazy. I think the best characterization of Kirby is, honestly, Goku, really. He loves to eat, he loves to laze around, lives an adventure, but he also, when things are happening, he goes out and fights and works forward to saving the day. That's a very Goku thing. Kirby fits that very well. The only difference is Kirby doesn't necessarily train. We can have Kirby train in this, why not? Kirby's just the hungry hero, the hungry, zest for life, enjoys their day kind of character. And then when the chips are down, they get up and they fight and they fight and they get up and fight again. That's who Kirby is. So I think Kirby Movie 1 is Kirby's Dreamland into Adventure. So you introduce Kirby in Dreamland, and Kirby just comes with the breeze, and he saves Dreamland from King Dedede being a bit of a selfish jerk. And with that, King Dedede starts to realize maybe he is being a bit of a jerk, and he wants to do better some way. And then adventure happens. We introduce that King Dedede isn't always a bad guy. We have misgivings because of the prologue with Kirby there. We meet Wispy Woods, Mr. Shine, Mr. Bright, Meta Knight, King Dedede, the Waddle Dees, maybe even the precursor to the Bandana D happening here, or you can do Chili as a sidekick. I like Chili as a sidekick because of Poo 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 Hero, but Waddle Dee as Kirby's best friend is always good, of course. Can't forget Kracko, of course, as well. So, like, adventure works because then Kirby's going up, using a lot of powers, fighting a lot of things. We can have a lot of characterization here with Kirby and these different characters, especially with Meta Knight and motivations. And then you have Nightmare at the end. That's pretty hype right there. Of course, they could also do some amalgamation of doing the Dark Matter trilogy, where we do Adventure plus Dark Matter Trilogy, where Kirby is doing all this stuff with King Dedede, and it ends up being, instead of Nightmare, Dark Matter Swordsman. So then we have Kine, Rick, and Ku with Kirby, so they're his sidekicks instead of Bandana D. And with this, Meta Knight gets included in the Dark Matter Trilogy, so that would be cool. Because what I think would happen here with the movies is, no matter what, you're gonna have Kirby, you're gonna have Meta Knight, you're gonna have King Dedede, you're gonna have copy abilities, and you're gonna have a lot of Waddle Dees, and hopefully eventually Bandana D somewhere. Maybe not in the first movie, but eventually you get Bandana D. The one thing we don't want? Kirby on Earth. No, that wouldn't work. I don't think Kirby Isekai would work out very well. Just don't do that. Don't do that. Alternatively, though, you could do Return to Dreamland as a starting point as well, where it's just quick introduction to these characters, you just know who they are, just established quickly, we don't have to introduce them to the audience. Just through their actions in that story, we get an idea of who these 5 characters are. Then having the big betrayal like 80% through the game, and then adventuring back to Magolor, and then fighting Magolor at the end. But having the hint that Magolor has his doubts, things like that would be so epic to do. I think it would be a really good first movie, just doing Return to Dreamland. But if they don't do that, it'll be good as a later movie for sure, once you've built up the main 4 characters. Another route is, like I said, the Dark Matter Trilogy. They could do the Dark Matter Trilogy, introduce Kirby and friends in the first one, incorporate the other characters that aren't in the game though, so that they're in it now, and somehow make that trilogy work out. I don't think you do it as one story, I think you do it as like 2 or 3 movies for sure. Then what other ones are there? Like, some of these I swear would be better as TV shows. Or just all of the Kirby games as a TV show would probably work very well, I think. Just next adventure, next adventure, next adventure, this season, that season. I would love that. Really, I think, though, a movie I would really want to see, of course, is Triple Deluxe, and people really want to see Robobot for sure. And Forgotten Land would be incredible as a movie. I would love to see that for sure. Just going over the games list really quick, just looking if there's anything I missed here. Superstar would be interesting. If you were to do all of Superstar, like, I think you could do Milky Way Wishes and incorporate bits of the other games from Superstar into Milky Way Wishes. You could even do, say, Megaton Punch as the introduction to characters, because they're all participating there, or even Samurai Kirby, although that would be kind of weird. I think Megaton Punch works better, where you get to see everyone's strengths there, as introduction to how strong all these characters are. And then Kirby's going through, say, Milky Way Wishes, but he's doing the Great Cave Offensive for part of Milky Way Wishes, he's doing the Spring Breeze, hoping Dynablade, maybe having Dynablade gets him one of the Fountain Stars, doing the Great Cave Offensive gets him a Fountain Star. Spring Breeze is like introduction though. Just the Gourmet Race somehow gets incorporated to get a star. There's things you can do with Superstar alone, even do Ultra instead if you want, where you got Max DDD. Actually no, Max DDD would be better for a sequel. But Superstar I think would be a great movie you could utilize for a movie as well. I think for sure. Introduce him as a prologue with Spring Breeze, and then Milky Way Wishes happens, and you incorporate everything else from Superstar into Milky Way Wishes. Or Megaton as an intro as well. I'm just going in circles there. I think that could work, I really do. Crystal Shards actually could work alone as well, but it would suck to lose the Dark Matter Trilogy because of it. But it could work, because then you're just skipping King Dedede as a villain right there if you want. Somehow incorporate Meta Knight. You have a human character with Adeline for the audience. You got Ribbon. You got Waddle Dee. That could be fun for sure. Anything like say, Amazing Mirror, I think you could do as a build-up towards Triple Deluxe, because of course, yeah. Epic Yarn, I don't know about that. Epic Yarn would be like so many movies later if Epic Yarn could happen. Same thing for Mass Attack. Some of these would be better as TV shows, really. Kirby Battle Royale never happens. Kirby Star Allies, very many movies later. I think that's movie 10. There's your endgame, Star Allies. Super Kirby Clash would be... That would be probably better as an Eastern movie right there, or just like a Japanese instead of American movie. And then you got Kirby in the Forgotten Land. Kirby in the Forgotten Land I would love to see as a movie, but that needs some ways to get there for fanfare. I don't think you can just jump into that one and start. You could, because Elfilin would be a great addition. You got Elfilin with Kirby and Bandana D. But yeah, it does also hinge on the fact you would know about Meta Knight and King Dedede, so it wouldn't work as a first movie. So I'm going a bit in circles here, just brainstorming here. Of course, if you got this far, let me know what you're thinking here, what movies or how they would go you think would work? Because I think that's the fun of discussing this. But I think, okay, to reiterate, to finish this out, I think you would do Spring Breeze or Kirby's Dream Land as a prologue, and then you go into Adventure. Or you do Spring Breeze or Megaton going into Milky Way Wishes with Superstar. Because then we get marks up in here. The only way you're getting marks is if you do Milky Way Wishes. And then you have the epic fights with Nova, you have the epic spaceship fighting, That would be such a cool final act, wouldn't it? Just Nova, the spaceship fighting to kill Nova, then fighting Magolor in the end? Would be epic as all heck. Of course, you'd have to explain how he has so many helpers, or who would be a helper that could help up, or just has a bunch of helpers throughout the way. That'd be a way to do it. Or yeah, you do Adventure, like I said. Or you do Return to Dreamland. When they Return to Dreamland, you could do two, but you would be skipping Introduction, which the West does not like to do. The West loves to do origin stories first. Alright, the last one would be, of course, Crystal Shards. Crystal Shards could be an introduction to characters, as Kirby's investigating what the heck's going on with people and they're being weird and stuff like that. Any other movies I think would be sequels, down the line things. Triple Deluxe can't be the start. Robobot can't be the start. Star Allies obviously cannot be the start. Forgotten Land I think you could not do first either, like that needs to be later as well, because there's so much better reaction when you know who these characters are. I think that's everything. I really hope we get a Kirby movie someday, or at least another TV show, and I think if we were to get a second anime, it's either Right Back Etcha grown up a little bit, which would be fascinating, or it's the games, or Poo 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 Hero. I think Poo 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 Hero is the best shot. No. Poo 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 Hero, or I can't remember the newer manga, the one that recently did Return to Dreamland, that manga, really good because it covers the games, but has very funny characterizations of everyone. What's interesting about that one, though, is Kirby isn't necessarily the main character of that. It is an ensemble for sure. Kirby has time to shine in that, Bandana D does, King Dedede, and Meta Knight do. They all have time to shine in there. Meta Knight's a bit of a punching bag, which is hilarious, but they all do things, and Kirby doesn't just one and done everybody. Kirby does take some effort to get through things. So I like that a lot, but Kirby does, of course, win in the end because he's Kirby. And oh god, just read the end of that manga if you can, because it's Kirby with the big sword against Magolor, and he's like, I can't counter that giant sword, which it's just so funny to see that. He's like, I don't have an answer for that, uh-oh. And this is crowned Magolor too. So that's it. Give me your opinions. What is your fan idea for how a Kirby movie could happen? Or do you think we could only do a completely original new story? Not with the games, not with the manga or anything, just a new story with Kirby, where we introduce Kirby with the Spring Breeze, he meets people in Dreamland, and then you go from there. I don't know. But that's it from me. This is the end of the year. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. For the other holidays, we're up in those. Don't celebrate anything. Hope you got, presents anyway. And that's it. See you in the new year. I have fun. Hope you're fun watching and listening. Share it with your friends. I want to talk to as many people as I can about Kirby because I love Kirby so much. Thanks for coming by, and see you next time.